Hey there nation, welcome to the show. We help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and now it's time for another edition of Tales in the Underhive. This is Tales in the Underhive number 39. It is a Necromunda battle report, and right now we're on the last two videos before we retire the Tales in the Underhive series. We just got our box set into the mail today for Necromunda Underhive Wars for the newly updated rule sets, and so we're starting to learn those rules and starting to put together a campaign as well as putting together gangs for that for those battle reports. So really super excited. This is our second to last video, and after this we'll end up the whole series of Tales in the Underhive battle report number 40, which we'll put at the end of this week. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, for this second to last video, we're throwing down another gang fight scenario. This time it's between my friends Warlord Ace of 9/11 of House Van Saar versus my other friend Lady Domino with her Killjoys of House Escher. So these two gangs will be throwing it down one last time in the Underhive. Let's go through the rosters real quick. If you want to see exactly what each gang is bringing, please feel free to pause the videos and check it out at your own leisure. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this on. Alright nation, let's go ahead and talk about the scenario rules for this one. We are fighting a gang fight scenario, in case you've forgotten how the rules for that battle report pretty much works. The idea is that both gangs fight it out until one gang either voluntarily battles out or the forces battle out when they take 25% casualties with their gang. Usual rules apply. You get 5 experience points for every wound that you cause. You get D6 experience points for everyone who survives the battle report. Winning gang leader also wins 10 experience points as well. And if also you're able to put 3 times as many casualties onto your opponent's gang as what you receive, you also get to take one of their territories as well, which will be kind of interesting to see on this part because 9/11 is an outlaw gang, so they really don't have any territories besides their mine workings is all they really have. As you can see, instead of fighting on a 4x4 table, my buddies wanted to fight in the tombs one last time. So you can see that we're fighting in our underground labyrinth again. All 9 of those cavernous areas are open up for each side. The Killjoys will be taking the left-hand side of the tombs, while my buddy 9/11 will be taking over the right-hand side of the tombs. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go and talk about exactly what deployment and where all the gangs are located at. Alright, let's go and talk about deployment real quick. As you can see, Lady Domino decided to take the left-hand side of the table, while my buddy Warlord Ace decided to play his forces on the right-hand side of the table. It is just a straight-up gang fight, so both these guys are planning on just kind of going through and weaving their way through the caverns to try to attack each other and also destroy each other as well. The nice thing about the tombs is that it's very conducive to close combat, which is very, very beneficial for my Lady Domino because her gang is made up of Eschers, which are really good at close combat, while my other friend Warlord Ace is the Van Saars. They're used to more to shooting. Lady Domino chose this table this battlefield pretty well because it kind of goes towards her strength. Alright, let's go and talk about deployment for the Killjoys. As you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, she took most of her gangers who are armed with last guns as well as her hunting rifle, leading it by one-shot blonde. They're kind of deployed here on the left-hand side to kind of put some depression, to kind of put on some pressure onto the Van Saars. In the center deployment, she has Yoko the Pyro as well as Nocturna taking off to the center, which makes sense because Yoko the Pyro is carrying a flamer, and those are very, very deadly, especially within these kind of close quarters. And finally, making up the top of her deployment area, she has another fire team. As you can see there, she's got both her Juve, I believe her name is Harley is her name. She's also got Harlow as well, which is her gangers armed with a chain flail. Has also got her leader Furia back there, as well as Mad Donna, who's armed with a heavy stubber. She's taken up the back rings as well. And finally, off to the side, using her tunnels special deployment rule, she has 3 more of her gangers as well. I believe that's Mimi the Punk, as well as Trixie, I believe, and what's her name? I believe that's Raven is her name as well. And so these 3 ones are really good at close combat, as well as a grenade launcher, so those guys will be springing up on turn 2 for the Killjoys. Up next with the deployment from 9/11, as you can see in the top of the deployment area, my buddy Warlord Ace decided to put most of his younger gang members up at the top. He's got his 3 Jews led by tough shakes as well. That guy's a good veteran with close combat. He's got a chainsaw as well as a bolt pistol. Kind of put his Jews up there in the top flank of the battlefield. Taking point in the center of his table, he's got his 3 pit slaves. That's Eddie Chance in the front. That guy is the pit fighter's armed with 2 cutting shears. It's really, really deadly because those things have killing blow within close combat phase as well. Behind them, we got Plunkett and McLean. Those are the guys who are armed with a rock drill as well as a buzzsaw. They also got back in a plasma pistol as well as a bolt pistol as well. So very, very solid close combat unit right there in the center. Making up the other center portion of her, my buddy Warlord Ace's battle lines, he's got his leader Bussanine, as well as his heavy chopper, as well as his specialist Moloko taking point. So that's a very, very heavy shooting kind of center deployment there for those guys. And finally, making up Warlord Ace's bottom flank there, you can see you got Tug, Souljax, as well as Swayze. Those are the, as well as in the back, you kind of make out Nero as well. That's who's basically his gangers armed with bolt guns. He's also got another auto slug in there to kind of lend support as well. And that pretty much makes up the deployment area for Warlord Ace. So with deploying over, they go directly to the top of turn number 1 after the move phase. As you can see, 9/11 gets to go first. My buddy Warlord Ace won initiative for this battle report. And as you can see quickly, he just kind of maneuvers his forces in such a way to kind of like occupy some advantageous type of areas for him to go with. First of all, on the very top there, you can see he moves his squad of Jews with tough shakes up into that center top cavern there to kind of lay some suppressive fire there on the right hand flank of anything that kind of goes down that main entry there to the top. He also sends in his pit slaves right in the center there to act as bait to kind of draw out Lady Domina's troops coming up from the other left hand side. At the same time, he also maneuvers his heavy as well as Bussanine to the center chamber right there in the middle of the table, getting ready to aim at the blockade that blocks off that center entry cable. At the same time, he also runs up his gangers armed with bolt guns. They occupy the bottom center cell as well, and he just kind of moves up 4 inches nearer so that way he can take aim with his auto slugger against that barricade there in the center. And that pretty much makes up the move phase for 9/11. During the shooting phase, he managed to put 3 wounds onto that center kind of barrier there in the center there, so that way he can start moving his troops forward a little bit. Managed to get all of his shots off with his auto slugger, all D3 of those hits. Also, all 3 hit and all 3 wounds, so pretty solid shooting phase for my buddy Warlord Ace. Meanwhile, up to the top here between his heavy, his specialist, as well as the leader, he only managed to put 1 wound onto that small little barrier right there in the center. So shooting didn't go so really well for Warlord Ace on that part. Since no one's engaged in close combat and there is no need for recovery phase, we go directly to the top bottom of turn number 1 for the Killjoys. Alright, so that takes the bottom turn number 1 for the Killjoys. This photo is taken directly after the move phase. As you can see, Lady Dama does not waste any time whatsoever, starts moving up her forces as quickly as she possibly can. First of all, she runs up, she just moves up her top fire team at the top there with her 2 Juves as well as her heavy Mad Donna as well as her Lady Furia. Occupies that kind of central, what you call intersection there on the top left-hand corner of the screen. At the same time, she runs up Yoko the Pyro and Nocturna into the center cell as well, so that way they can lay down any suppressive fire if anybody comes to that area as well. At the same time, the right hand side, she moves up her members of her gangs, all those guys armed with las guns, and gets them ready to open up onto that central barrier right there that already has 3 wounds attached to it. And that pretty much makes up the move phase for Lady Domino on this one. So that takes directly to the shooting phase. As you can see in this photo, all the members armed with las guns, as well as 1-shot ball on the hunting rifle, as well as Nocturna armed with her las gun. They open up in that center area, manage to put the last 2 wounds into that barrier and kind of drop it down. Unfortunately for Lady Domina, Nocturna did fail her ammo test in order to do that, so now she has no ammo whatsoever. So Nocturna now is just a close combat fighter. But then again, she's also a pretty deadly close combat fighter at the same time. Meanwhile, up here on the top of the screen, as you can see, Lady Domina's forces open up with their guns, the Jews, as well as the heavy, as well as Raven using her rapid fire ability. Open up with the pit slaves. Luckily for my buddy Warlord Ace, Eddie Chance, he only gets wounded. He only gets pinned, so he's kind of stuck up there. That's why he's facing upwards. That way he's okay. However, Plunkett and McLean, both those guys do take hits. They're down right now. That all they can really do is just bleed out and move 2 inches during the move phase as well. And that pretty much makes the shooting phase for Lady Domina a pretty successful one as well. There is no combat, close combat taking place, so there's no reason to go to the combat phase, and since no one's wounded, we skip the recovery phase, and that takes directly to the top of turn number 2 for 9/11. Alright, so that takes the top of turn number 2 for 9/11. This photo is taken directly after the move phase, and as you can see here in this picture that my buddy Warlord A starts repositioning his forces in order to kind of block the entryways to kind of protect where his forces are located at. Up on the top of the screen, he moves up his Juves into that central hallway there, so that way they can lay down some suppressive fire on anybody who tries to charge directly into his downed pit slaves. At the same time, in the center there, he kind of moves back his pit slaves a little bit, the ones who are down, moves them back 2 inches so that way they're out of the field of fire from any of the Killjoys, that way they'll get shot some more. At the same time, in the center there, you can see that his heavy chopper, as well as Bus 9, and I believe that guy's name is Moloko, they're maintaining their position so that way they can shoot that central gantryway. The most dramatic movement, however, takes place on the bottom of the screen. As you can see, he sends in tugs as well as Soljaks up into the center, kind of center corridor there to kind of block anybody from charging in. So what's his name in the back? Swayze kind of takes a position in the back there to kind of lay down suppressive fire. Same thing with Nero as well, and that pretty much makes it the move phase for this part. During the shooting phase, Soljak takes aim with his bolt gun and manages to hit one-shot Blonde. Unfortunately, was unable to wound, so because that one-shot Blonde is now pinned, she won't be able to do anything else until her next turn, but, you know, not so much successful shooting for the Van Saars. Meanwhile, the combined fire of both heavies as well as the leader managed to take down the central barrier of the central cell, so now they can start moving out that area and hopefully kind of get through Yoko the Pyro and then kind of flank the left-hand side of Lady Domina's forces. And as you can see during the recovery phase, because no other shots are made and plus we have nothing with the close combat, for the most part, 8 chance pops back on his feet again because no longer pinned. So it does, I believe that guy's name is Plunkett is his name, that's the guy who's armed with the plasma gun. At the same time, McLean, he also kind of goes back another 2 more inches in order to get away from being shot at as well. And that pretty much makes up turn number 2 for the Van Saar. So we go to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Killjoys. Once again, this photo is taken directly after the move phase, and the first thing that Lady Domina does is that she starts charging her troops in order to kind of like engage her forces in close combat. She moves up Lucky Lucy directly charging to Soljaks, and those guys are engaged in close combat in the bottom half of the tombs. Meanwhile, on the top of the tomb, she also charges in her Juve, Harley, as well as Harlow, her ganger, directly into close combat as well, to start kind of taking the fight to 9/11 at the same time. She then also uses up, if you look at the bottom of the screen on the right hand side, she also uses her tunnel special rules to deploy her assault team. As you can see there, I believe that's Mimi the Punk, who charges in and kind of engages into the back of Nero, so that way he's engaged in close combat as well. She also moves up Trixie as well as Raven up a couple inches forward, so that way they can start putting down some shots at the leader, Busta 9, as well as his specialist Moloko at the same time. And that pretty much makes the move phase for the Killjoys. Here's a close-up of Lucky Lucy engaging in the combat with Soljak. So you can see there her other 2 members of her gang. I believe it's Silky Sorrow, as well as, oh, I forgot the name of the gang, but they're armed with blast guns. They're kind of laying back in support to kind of lend in this additional combat support against the 9/11 guys in that central corridor. And here's another close-up of the assault team that came in through using the tunnel special rules. At the same time, you can also see Mimi the Punk getting ready to engage close combat into Nero and ready to put the heart on that guy as well. And finally, here's a close-up shot of Harlow and Harley engaged in close combat with Grim, as well as Eddie Chance as well, getting those guys stuck into close combat, ready to engage them as well. So with the move phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase. The very first thing that ends up happening is that I believe the grenade carrier, forgot the name of that girl, she's armed with a grenade launcher, she opens up and takes aim with her grenade launcher and opens up the frag grenade blast right on top of Moloko, since he's the closest. As you can see, both Moloko as well as the gang leader Buster are now trapped in the blast template as well, and so those guys will be taking strength 3 hits from the frag grenades. However, she only got one wound through, but the one wound that she managed to get through, it was a really important one. She managed to take out Busta 9, as you can see there. Not only did she manage to wound the gang leader, but also managed to put him out of action as well. So you can see we got the little red dye there to represent the fact that that guy is out. Because he got blown halfway to hell with a frag grenade, Moloko as well as Chopper had to take leadership tests. They both failed their panic test, and they both run 2d6 inches. As you can see, Moloko is right there in the center cavern there, just kind of taking cover, not trying to hide. At the same time, though, Chopper, he runs up and around that tunnel heading towards the exit and saying he's basically not taking this, he's basically seeing YOLO and he's not going to die over this nonsense. So as you can see there, a lot of panic and scattering taking place there from the one shot against the leader. So that makes it the shooting phase. So with shooting phase over, we go directly to the combat phase. As you see, the combat between both Lucky Lucy as well as Soljaks. Lucky Lucy managed to get a combat score of 11 over a combat score of 8 for Soljak. So because of that, she managed to get 3 hits onto that Van Saar ganger. Needless to say, Lucky Lucy had no problem putting the coup de grace on that guy, just basically headshotting with the last pistol. She runs over his dying corpse and charges directly into Tugs as well. So now Tugs is engaged in close combat, following up her 2-inch follow-through. At the same time, Mimi the Punk also manages to get a combat score of 11 off against a combat score of 7 against Nero as well. Needless to say, she had no problem whatsoever putting the last 4 hits onto that guy. She's armed with a chainsword as well as a plasma pistol, so she's got some really good strength for weapons. Managed to blow that guy halfway to hell as well. Unfortunately for me, I forgot to take the picture of the follow through, but Nero goes out of action. She goes up 2 more inches towards the center corridor, making her way to Swayze as well. However, on the north side of the tombs, combat does not go exactly according to plan for Lady Domina. As you can see up the top there, she's got Harley versus, I believe that guy's name is Grim is his name. Grim has a combat score of 10 versus a combat score of 9 against the Jew, so because of that, he managed to get the hit through in that part as well. On the bottom part there, you can see that Marlowe is her name, I believe that's her name. Marlowe also has a combat score of 10 against a combat score of 12 for any chance, which is the guy's arm with the twin shears, so also very, very deadly at that part as well. Needless to say, Harley goes down with not much of a fuss, so because of that, Grim kind of moves up his 2-inch forward follow through and manages to surround what's her name, Marlowe as well. At the same time though, Marlowe does take a wound, only 1 wound from any chance. She got really lucky on that part. The other one was really managed to hit, and she managed to avoid the killing blow, which could have killed her pretty simply. But however, she does carry 2 wounds. She's only got 1 more wound left, but now she's out fighting out 2 against 1 for the other members of 9/11, so that's kind of rough as well. So with that combat phase over, we go directly to the recovery phase. And during the recovery phase, One Shot Blind manages to pass up her pinning test, managed to get back up on her feet, and now she's back in the game as well. So with recovery phase over, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 for 9/11. Alright, so now we're at the top of turn number 3 for 9/11. This photo's up close because there's really not much movement goes on. For the most part, my buddy Warlord Ace decides to keep all of his forces directly where they're located at because he doesn't get people engaged or shot at the same time. But he does charge with Swayze directly into Trixie, Mimi the Punk as well, so now those two will be engaged in close combat. Because everybody else is engaged in close combat, there's no line of shot. We skip the shooting phase, we go straight to the combat phase. So during the combat phase, Eddie Chance ends up with a combat score of 9 against Marlowe's score of 6. Eddie Chance is an absolute berserker when it comes to his fighting with his twin shears as well as his 2 base attacks. So that guy's absolutely deadly in close combat. Needless to say, because of the score difference, he managed to hit 4 times onto Marlowe. And unfortunately, Marlowe does go down and out of action. However, she did not get killed. However, my buddy Warlord Ace was unable to roll up any 6s on the to wound phase, so that way he can get the killing blow off. But none of them were successful. So because of that, both these guys move up their 2 inches in order to engage, and they fall just a half inch short of actually engaging what's her name, Furia, in close combat. So that buys the Killjoys a little more time to deal with this kill crazy clipping sheared armed pit slave. So we'll see exactly what happens from that part as well. Meanwhile, during the close combat phase here in the bottom half of the table, as you can see, Lady Silky Sorrow, I'm sorry, not Silky Sorrow, Lady Lucy, Lucky Lucy, she ended up with a combat score of 7 against, what's his name, Tugs' combat score of 8, so because of that, he managed to land 1 blow on top of her as well. At the same time, Swayze ended up with a combat score of 11 versus Mimi the Punk's combat score of 7, so really, really drastic rolls in this part. So combat's kind of like interesting because it's kind of going back and forth between these 2 gangs. Luckily for Lady Domina, Tugs was unable to wound Lucky Lucy, so because of that, 2 of them are still engaged in close combat for another turn. However, unfortunately, Mimi the Punk did take 2 wounds from Swayze from all the blows he was landing, but Mimi the Punk also has 3 wounds total, so she's pretty tough as well as good at close combat, so she gets to stick around for another turn as well. And that pretty much makes the combat phase for 9/11. So with the combat phase over, we go directly to the recovery phase. As you can see, both Chopper as well as Moloko managed to pass their rally test, so they turn right back around and get ready to go back in the fight. However, one of my buddy Warlord Ace's pit slaves, he goes out of action on that one, so he'll need to roll up on the series injury table when the battle report is finished. So with that being said, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 3 for the Killjoys. So that takes the bottom of turn number 3 for the Killjoys. This photo is taken directly after the move phase. As you can see, starting from the top and working her way down, Lady Domina starts scrambling her forces to kind of lend some support for her troops to kind of make it through. First of all, on the very top there, she moves back both Furia as well as Mad Donna around the corners of those the vertical tunnel shaft, so that way they're in a position where they're not being engaged in close combat by the pit slave any chance, but they still have a good line of sight or do some shooting as well. She also maneuvers a couple of her gangers armed with last guns and hunting rifles up to the north as well to kind of lend support for her leader as well. She's still engaged in close combat for the most part. There on the bottom of the screen, she sees she puts up 2 more gangers right behind her engaged fighters, so that way they can kind of support them in case if they lose the round of combat. She also moves up Yoko the Pyro and runs her as well as Nocturna through that central corridor into the other side of the board, getting ready to engage both Chopper as well as Moloko as well. And that pretty much makes the move phase for Lady Domina on this one. Alright, as you can see in the shooting phase, things go very, very badly for 9/11 at this point. Both Furia, as well as Mad Donna take aim with their weapons and open up onto both those guys. They end up getting something like, I think, 6 shots off total between the two of them is what they end up doing. Both managing to cause enough wounds to take down Eddie Chance as well as Grim, and both those guys are also rolled up out of action as well. So because of that, after the scenario is over, they both will need to roll up on the serious injury table and see exactly what happens to them. So things are not looking very good for Warlord Ace at this point. So because of that, we go directly to the combat phase. As you can see, things are not looking so well for Lady Domina in the combat phase. For Lucky Lucy, she ended up with a combat score of 7, while Tugs ended with a combat score of 9. At the same time, Swayze has a combat score of 10 versus Mimi the Punk's combat score of 8. So because that's kind of interesting, because usually Eschers are really good at close combat, while Van Saars are better at shooting. Well, the tide is being turned here on the bottom of the table as well, which is kind of cool to see. So because of that, Silky Sorrow does get put down. Lucky Lucy gets put down. So because you can see there that Tugs kind of runs through with his 2-inch follow through, manages to get engaged with Silky Sorrow. So now those two will be fighting out in close combat. However, on the right hand side, the fight between Swayze as well as Trexie ends up being a push because Swayze was unable to wound that rival ganger. So because of that, they'll be engaged in close combat the next turn as well. So with combat phase over, we skip the recovery phase because no one really needs to recover at this point. We go directly to the top of turn number 4 for 9/11. So with the amount of casualties my buddy Warlord Ace takes, he has to take a bottle test real quick. Unfortunately for him, though, he does fail his bottle test, so that takes us directly to the end of the game. 9/11 bottles up because they failed their bottle roll test. So you can see there, a lot of the members of the gang are pretty much taken out. I think half his gang got put out of action for that part, so a lot of those guys will have to roll up on the injury table, while Lady Domina actually has a pretty solid number of troops left on the table. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the after action report, talk about the post game, because this battle report is now officially over. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the post-game for Tales in the Underhive Battle Report number 39. This one was fought between my buddies Warlord Ace of 9/11 of House Van Saar versus Lady Domina with her Killjoys of House Escher. In the post-game, we talk about the injuries, advancements, territories, merchants, as well as new records and new gang rings for each of the gangs after the battle report is over with. So we're going to start off with 9/11 because they lost this battle. We'll start off with the injuries. First of all, we had 6 injuries. Bustin9 unfortunately died in the process of his wounds, so because of that, that gang leader is now dead, which is kind of sad because we saw Bustin9 start off as a leader, get overthrown by Mega Man, who is another member of his gang who led the gang first scenario. Then Bustin9 took leadership back from his gang by killing Mega Man, and then he eventually dies. So the battle of Bustin9 ends in tragedy. As for Souljax, he does survive against the odds when he rolled up for his injuries. He only gets 3 experience points, so the odds must have not been that bad for him. Nero, however, as well as McLean, they make full recoveries. However, Grim as well as Eddie Chance, they both die as well after being riddled with bullets from the heavy stubbers. That was kind of sad as well. A lot of death taking place for 9/11 because this gang just can't catch a break. For the advancement, Swayze got +1 to his strength, Tugs learned the hip shooting skill, Tough Shakes got +1 to his blitzing skill, Hollows got +1 to his leadership, and Tough Shakes, that ganger who's really good at close combat, he gets promoted to become the new leader of 9/11 as well. From the territories, because this gang is outlawed, they only managed to do is scavenge 43 credits and profit. At the merchants, they rehired Plunkett as well as McLean, so now they got those 2 pit slaves back as well. They also hire a new pit slave. That guy's name is Warchild. He's another pit slave, armored twin cutting shear, so he's pretty tough. And they take the remaining 13 credits and they manage to put that in their stash as well. 9/11's new record now is at 5 wins as well as 8 losses, and the new gang rank is at 1,847 points. Man, I feel really bad for my buddy Warlord Ace because no matter what he does, he always catches rough breaks on this campaign. Alright, so now it's time to talk about the Killjoys. When it came to their injuries, Lucky Lucy made a full recovery. Harlow, she also survives against the odds as well, earning herself 7 more experience points. Unfortunately, the newly member of the gang, Harley the Jew, she dies. Because of that, she's taken off the roster as well. For the advancements, a couple of them actually got leveled up. Furia got +1 to her weapon skill, so now she's even deadlier in close combat. Mad Donna learned the hard as nails strength skill, so because of that, if Furia goes out of action on a 5-up, she'll never have to worry about rolling off on the injuries table. Maybe the Punk got +1 to her ballistic skill, Harlow got +1 to her strength, and Marlowe got a combat master skill as well. From their territories, the Killjoys managed to earn 45 credits in their territories, and at the merchant they spent all 45 of their credits hiring a new Jew. Her name is Quinn. She's armed with a stub gun as well as a sword. She costs 45 credits for them as well. The Killjoys' new record now is at 4 wins as well as 5 losses, and their new gang rank now is at 2,766 points. So that's going to do it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. That's the end of battle report number 39 for Tales of the Underhive. As always, please feel free to like, like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable as always. Also check us out on Facebook as well as Google Plus and Instagram for all the latest greatest we're working on for hobby for our battle report channel. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna wrap it up for this one. We're done with the second last battle report for Tales of Underhive. One more, and then we retire this series with a brand new rule set from the new Necromunda game. I'm Commander CheapSkate. You guys stay classy. We will catch you on the next one. Peace out.